Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guest was born in Puerto Rico and raised in Utah. She caught the love of moving people through song and storytelling after singing a solo at a multicultural assembly in junior high school. After attending Southern Utah University, she worked for several seasons at the Utah Shakespearean Festival and then moved to Chicago in 2012 to star as Tracy Turnblad in Drury Theatre's Hairspray, a role she has since reprised multiple times. From there, she has played leading roles throughout the Chicagoland area, such as Daniela in the Heights at both Marriott Theatre and Milwaukee Rep, Elizabeth in Young Frankenstein at Mercury Theatre, and most notably as Constance Blackwood in the original U.S. cast of Ride the Cyclone, which premiered at Chicago Shakespeare Theatre in 2015. Her performance as Constance has been captured as a full live performance video, which can be found on YouTube, as well as on the original cast album. She went on to recreate the role of Constance both off-Broadway and at Seattle's ACT. We recently had the pleasure of working together in Drury Theatre's On Your Feet, where we became fast friends and, after realizing we lived 6 minutes from one another, occasional carpool mates. I hope you enjoy my conversation with dear friend Lillian Castillo. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hi Lillian, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much, my friend, for joining me here on the podcast.
It is my pleasure.
So we have a little tradition here, and we always like to ask our guests at the very top of the show, what was your first theater experience?
My very first theater experience, okay. That's a tricky question to answer, and the reason why is that, so my family was not a theater family. We were not a performing family. We were a sports family.
Okay.
And so when I moved to the States, technically my first theater experience, my family moved to Utah from Puerto Rico. Longer story. But my middle school Spanish teacher, her name was Mrs. Peña. What's up, Mrs. Peña? And she wanted to do a multicultural assembly. Yeah. And so she was like, I would love for you to sing at this multicultural assembly. And I was like, I don't perform. I don't sing. Like, no, she'd never heard me sing. This was not like she heard me sing somewhere. It was like, oh, she sings really pretty. I should ask her to sing. No. She was just like, I need you to be in this, you know? And so like, she was like, you could sing something. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And I know that you're just asking me because without me, it's only a bicultural assembly. You need that third something to make it multicultural.
Wow.
And she was like, okay, I'm going to give you this
You were
song.
how old?
I was 13, 14.
Okay. All right. So you were a teenager. You were like a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in 8th or 9th grade, I think.
Okay.
Well, I know. And she was just like, you know, she chose a song. It's called En Mi Viejo San Juan. It's a very popular song. It's a beautiful song. And she was like, why don't you go home, you practice it, and if it sounds bad, I won't make you do it. Which I was like, that's bull. How much can I swear in this?
all the swearing that you want.
Okay, great. Because I was gonna go full bullshit. Then I went,
no, go for it. Yeah.
Anyway, but I was like, that's bull. She needs me. She's gonna make me do this and embarrass myself in front of my peers, and it's going to be awful. So I went home, I practiced, and she was like, that sounds great. And I was like, liar. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody this is happening. This is going to be a moment, this stupid assembly. It's horrible. Thank God, nobody that in my family can come. That's so great. Thing is that my mom finds out about it the day before. Mm-hmm. And in 24 hours finds me something to wear that's like super cute, traditional Puerto Rican jibarita, and I was like, this is the worst day of my life. And she got off work so that she could she got permission to come to the Multicultural Assembly so that she could video me, whatever. And I'm like, great, this will live on in infamy for the rest of my life. I hate everything about this. So she shows up and I do the song. And I'm standing up there. It's a huge, like the way that I remember it being a huge stage, way bigger than a stage needs to be at a middle school, I feel like. And I was just all by myself in the center of this stage. The music comes on. I take a deep breath. I start singing. And I get through it. And I remember the whole school stood up and just like was cheering. And my mom was sitting in the front row crying with her camera. And I was like, oh, okay. This is different. I didn't know you could move a group of people, a huge group of people this way. Like I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And so that is technically my first experience into performing.
Yeah.
But that inspired me to then audition for the musical that year.
Okay.
Which I was like, I had no grasp of how to audition for things.
Sure.
And I remember telling my friend, I was like, well, I'm going to audition and I need a monologue and a song. And she's like, do you know any musical theater songs? And I was like, no. I just saw Evita, the one with Madonna. I just saw Evita. And she goes, do you know the music? I'm like, yeah, we're obsessed with it right now. We're playing it all the time in my house. And she's like, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. The auditions are in the choir room. In the choir room, there's a shelf that's got a bunch of books. And a bunch of them are like pastel colored. And they're like musical theater anthologies. Okay.
Oh, wow.
When I go in for choir next time, because she was in the choir class, she's like, I'm going to find Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. And I will tell you which book it's in. I remember it was in the light blue book. And just pull that book out and that'll be your song. And she's like, what are you going to do for your monologue? I was like, I don't know. But I had just had to memorize The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost in a poetry class. And I was like, I guess I'll do that. And she was like, okay. And I remember being in line to audition. And the girl in front of me, again, I didn't know what you needed to be or do for auditions. Mm-hmm. But the girl in front of me was in a full, the show was The Wizard of Oz. We were auditioning for The Wizard of Oz. She was in a full Eliza Doolittle costume with a mic and an amp. And I was like, oh, I am woefully unprepared.
Wait a minute. Flower Girl Eliza or Ascot Eliza?
Flower Girl Eliza. Okay. Flower Girl Eliza.
She's in her face.
Full costume, dirt in her face. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you had to come like this for auditions. Oh no. I was like, I'm about to come in there with just my clothes I wore to school and I'm about to pull a song out of a book. It was, I was like, uh-oh, And she went in there and you could hear her outside, singing into her mic, all I want is
crying over here. This is a circle.
And I was just like, oh no. And so I go in there after her feeling like, wow, I'm wasting their time. I'm wasting my time. And they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And I tell them, what's your monologue? I tell them what the monologue is and I do it. And they're like, great. Did you bring a song? Because I have nothing in my hands. And I was like, just a second. And I go over to the shelf and I grab the light blue anthology book and I go and I open it and they're like, well, what are you going to sing? And I was like, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. And they're like, oh, they're like, okay, 14.
Right.
Sure. And I sang it and I finished and they're like, that was great. And I was like, thanks. My goal was Munchkin. Look, she's been short her whole life. I thought I'll be in the ensemble. I'll be a Munchkin. It'll be great. And 2 days later when they posted it, my friend was like, you are never going to believe what's happened. And I was like, what? And we go over there and I was cast as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I was like.
Eliza was crying in her little flower basket.
Oh, she quit the show. She was cast as a Munchkin and was like, I'm out.
Where is young Eliza today? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. don't know. I have no idea.
Tarnish her hopes for being in the business forever, and she is like working at a Starbucks or a Home Depot somewhere in Utah.
God help me. I don't know. I hope that she is, wherever she is, I hope she is happy and what she ended up doing. But Lord help me. First of all, she gave me all sorts of anxiety because I was like, oh no. And then to have her be like, I'm not being a munchkin. They cast Lillian Castillo as Dorothy. What?
Oh my God.
Because she thought she had it in the bag. She thought she had it in the bag.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Folks, in case you couldn't tell, we have no fun here on the podcast at all, ever. No. And Lillian is one of my least favorite people on this earth. Of course, again, I kid. I love that story because it's like High School Musical. Like, that's basically what it is. But
Absolutely.
In real life, oh my God.
It was so weird. And then from then on, I was just like, well, this is, I mean, I'd gotten a little taste of it in the assembly, and I was like, well, this is clearly what I want to do, what I love to do.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I had not intended to go into musicals. That was not, because I didn't think I was a good singer. To this day, I think I'm an all right singer. I think I'm an all right, I'm a.
Oh, my friend.
No, this is not me trying to knock on myself. I think I can sing what's on the page. I can act the crap out of it. That you're absolutely going to get. And I can sing what's on the page. I think that I am not like, people don't hear me sing and go, whoa, like that. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I'm happy with what I've got. I think what I've got works great. And frankly, I've made most of my career out of musicals, even though I never intended to.
Well, I think your fans and friends would disagree with that wholeheartedly. But you of course, we're all our own worst critics. So
well, because my first love was Shakespeare, and it was because of that poetry class that I was literally taking at the same time. Yeah, I must have been 14. It must have been 9th grade because it was Mrs. Page's poetry writing class, and we had to memorize all these monologues. And not monologues. They're not monologues, they're poems.
Yeah.
And you know, so there was Shakespeare in there, and like Shakespeare spoke to me in a whole different level that kind of helped me understand English much better, and helped me understand pronunciation much better. So when I went to college, that's what I was like, classical theater is the way that I aimed.
Gotcha.
And then I ended up doing musical theater because I could sing.
That is a great segue to my next question, is tell our listeners a little bit about your training and your background, where you went to college, all that stuff.
Yeah. So like I said, you know, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. My family moved to the States right before I turned 12, which was quite jarring. And when it came to educating myself in theater, again, my family knew nothing. We knew nothing about theater. We knew nothing about how do you become a performer? How do you get educated to become a performer? And so my mom just knew. She was like, well, you're going to college. Like, that's, and I was like, great, cool. We'll do that. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, so we knew it was going to be in-state school, in Utah. And, I had heard of the Utah Shakespeare Festival, which is a very big, festival, and like theater festival, based out of Cedar City, Utah, which is also where Southern Utah University is. And I thought, well, if they're attached, because at the time they were still very much USF grew out of SUU and like eventually became separate things, but they kind of coexist together now. I thought, well, clearly if I go there, my chances of being like fed into that company are much higher. So I applied to go there. You didn't have to audition. You just had to have good grades, and I had good grades. I was a great student. I had an almost perfect GPA until my mother made me take pre-calc in my senior year in high school. That was awful. Because I didn't need a math class.
Right, and so useful in what we do.
Right? So useful. Just great. It was a pre-calculus trigonometry AP class that my mom was like, even though you don't need any more math credits, you should take another one. I was like, I don't want it. And it just destroyed my GPA. I was like, I have worked so long to have that 4.0. Anyway, so I went to Southern Utah University. I learned the first day of school when the College of Performing Arts, the CPA, had its first meeting that USF was no longer auditioning for students out of out of SUU. I was like, oh, balls.
Ah,
Oh no. But that was okay. I was like, you know what? Proximity to it I'll get to learn things. It'll be great. So I went to Southern Utah University. I was there for a long time because about halfway through I started working professionally. I started auditioning for theaters all over the country, and I would go away for a semester and then come back and then go away for a semester and then go. So it took me a million years to go through school. And then when I went to graduate, they were like, oh, don't forget your minor, because I was required to have a minor. And I was like, oh yeah, I was going to do my Spanish minor. And I was told my freshman year that I could test out of it because I could read it, write it, and speak it. I was like, great. So I go to the Spanish department and I was like, hey, I'd like to test out of my minor. And they're like, you can't do that. I was like, what are you talking about? I've been here for a million years and not put a single drop of work into this minor because I was told that I could test out of it. And they were like, well, you can test out of the first 4 classes. And I was like, great. How many classes are there after that? And they're like, 3 more for the minor. I was like, all right, can I take them all this semester? And they said, no, they aren't offered all this semester. You have to take them in the next 3 semesters. I was like, another year and a half. And I was like, you know what? I don't need the degree. I'm working. I'm good. Bye.
good for you.
So, I mean, I think I learned a lot of great things at SUU with the faculty that I had there at the time. They were amazing. There was a woman named Chris Lusk who I believe now she teaches in Texas. And she was, I think, all of the amazing basics of theater I learned from her.
Okay.
And then everything else I've learned along the way, including singing, because I never took a single music singing class of any kind.
Until college.
No, not in college at all either, because I had to choose musical theater or classical theater, and I went classical theater. So I've never taken a singing class of any kind other than the things that I've learned in rehearsals along the way.
And you've never taken a voice lesson in your life? Okay, that to me is even, like, I bow down to you even more. Because seriously,
don't.
No, I'm serious. I mean, you've got a beautiful voice, and it's
thank you.
It's a healthy voice, it's a healthy sound. You've played.
Admittedly, it's a healthy voice now because I did give myself vocal nodules at one point.
So did I. I had vocal surgery before,
and had to have surgery because I wasn't using it properly. Although it wasn't the singing that got me in trouble. Actually, it was the speaking.
Yep, same. I love hearing these stories of people like who didn't get formal degrees because it just goes to show you that it's all about the talent, the work, the energy you bring to the room, in the audition room. That speaks volumes of how you get work in this business sometimes. It's not what's on the page and what your history is and your education.
I also think that it is still and I'm trying to think if I'm using the terminology correctly, but I think it's still also very much a journeyman's career. That's what I'm trying to think of, where you're kind of like you start as a novice and you're learning from masters as you go.
Yes.
There are so many people whose paths I've crossed as I have worked professionally the last 20 years that I was like, wow, I'm going to carry that with me. Wow, I'm going to carry that. Oh, that is something that I didn't realize. And I'm not even talking necessarily people older than me. I've learned a lot of things from people younger than me, especially about vocal care. It's been really amazing. And I think that if you can go into a room and humble yourself to think, there are people in this, almost everybody in this room, if not everybody in this room, knows something that I don't know, and I should take the time to learn that thing, and when it comes my way, I need to be humble enough to accept it, and let it come into me. I think that is the way that you become a great performer. I think that's the way that you become a great partner in performance.
Echo all those sentiments. To give our listeners some context about how you and I met, we just recently performed it On Your Feet together, Drury Lane. It was such an honor for me to finally work with you because I'd seen you play roles here in Chicago, Tracy Turnblad, and in Young Frankenstein, and you were just, I was so excited to see your name on the cast list when it came out. And that was, of course, a very Latine story that I was the only non-Latine cast member. And to this day, ladies and gentlemen, we have a group thread of 27 people on WhatsApp that is added to daily. We closed
Daily.
over a month ago, and we are just love upon love with this company. But it was such an honor for me to be in that room with all of you because it was such, as I said, it was such a Latinx story that I was a part of and I was able to help bring to the audiences. You expressed that you wanted to talk about why these stories are so important, and
Oh,
I'm going to head
yes.
over to you to explain why.
Absolutely. Real quick, I just want to say, like, we all love you so much. Claudia and I were talking about it the other day that, like, you get us on a level that, a lot of people, I think, when they spend a lot of time with Latina people or even Latina artists, they're just like, oh my God, this is so much. This is a lot. They're so loud. They're so this, they're so that. And we, have spent so much of our lives trying to not be so loud and so much and blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
And you just accepted us in so many ways. And
Honey, you're talking to an Italian from New York.
this is true. So, like,
It's the same.
it's the same thing. I always say that too. I'm like, like Italians, Greek people,
Yes.
like, we're all the same. Puerto Ricans, Latinos, Latina people of any kind. We're all the same kind of thing.
Yes.
But
Thank you for that.
but we just because we love each other so much, we rib each other relentlessly.
Oh yeah.
And you like fit into that perfectly and accepted that so beautifully. We were literally
Oh,
talking about it the other day.
thank you so much.
Oh, we just love you.
Mm.
So why these things are so important? They're so important on again so many levels. I I have had the honor to get to do in the Heights. It's 6 different theaters. That I think that's correct. 6 different theaters. This is my first time doing On Your Feet at a theater, and I have found it to be true that those the shows that are bringing in an audience to show you to invite you into the culture, to invite you into our stories, to invite you to empathize and sympathize and see yourself in our stories are good both for people who are Latine and people who are not Latine. For people who are Latine, I never saw people that looked like me on stage growing up. And I didn't realize when I was little how much that affected me. I didn't realize that until I was much older. And it hit me particularly hard when we started doing student matinees. I was doing In the Heights at Milwaukee Rep, and we were doing student matinees. And those kids, I mean, the level of emotion, the level of pride, the level of awe and joy that an audience that is finally seeing themselves fully represented.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put it in. It's almost. I have no words. I have no
Mm-hmm.
words.
Yeah.
They were such an emotional, beautiful thing that then says to those people, you can be that. You can do this. This is a space that is open to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then with non-Latine people, I think theater is becoming how do I put this into words? So I feel like movies in a way are shifting and changing where we don't really watch them together in movie theaters as much anymore.
Right.
We usually watch them at home, but you can't do that with theater.
Mm-hmm.
So theater invites a group of, let's say 25 to 800 people who don't know each other and don't have probably similar ideas of how to live their lives, invites them to be in a room together and have a communal experience together as a community, and when you have a story on stage that is not your general community, not the community that you usually represents you, you're being invited to witness a part of humanity that maybe isn't something you see every day, and maybe you didn't recognize as part of your own story. You know,
Yeah.
I think that, there was a reviewer who asked one of the heights I did, was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to relate to this story. And I thought, you don't relate to being someone's child and feeling like you're disappointing them. You don't relate to being a parent who's worried about how to make ends meet. You can't relate to starting a business. You can't relate to, being a part of a neighborhood. You can't, there's nothing
Wow.
here that you
Wow.
can't relate to. That's impossible. That's the whole human experience, is relating to each other. It's slowly being taken away by, computers. And again, I love technology. Technology has afforded us all sorts of things, but it has made relating to each other so hard.
Yeah.
And how is it that you can't find yourself anywhere in this story? And I think that's a minority. I think the majority of people come in and they do find themselves in these stories, and that opens them up to that community, right? It
Yeah. Yeah.
opens them up to that culture. It opens them up to that struggle, and not just that struggle, but that joy, right? Because,
Yes.
with Luis, it's one of the things I loved about Luis. Luis Salgado directed our show. He kept reminding us to invite the audience in. He kept reminding us to be our most ferocious selves, but not in an aggressive way, but in like a joyful way. To be like, yes, we want you to feel this. We want you to be here with us. We want you to know us.
That idea of community and bring the audience in, it was fostered every single performance because of your little circle of love that we would do every night before the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Lillian would host us, just anybody who wanted to circle up and hold hands and talk about a positive thing that happened to them in their day. We did that every night before the show. Lillian led that charge every single performance. And it speaks to you as an individual and as a person carrying the torch forward for the Latina community, not just in our show, but outside of the theater community at large. But also, it really helped keep us a family and a community every performance. Yeah. I think that's a large part of why we're still close today, the entire
We're
company.
all so tight.
We are. We really are. And let me tell you something. For a person of a certain age, like myself, it's like when you get to be my age, you've got friends, you've got your family, you don't make friends. I don't want to say you don't make friends, but you're not looking to make more friends.
It's not a
in your life.
priority.
And that is part of the reason why, and I've said this, I think, on this podcast before, and I certainly now shared it with people in the company, like having my corporate job affording me and my family the things we needed. I was grateful for that 10 plus year run, but these are the people that I want to spend every day with, both at my job and outside of my job. Like, we just want to see each other all the time. And it always brings me back to Andre de Shields. When he accepted his Tony Award, he said he's got those 3 mantras in life. The first one he says is, surround yourself with people whose faces light up when they see you. I'm forgetting the third one, but it's the second one. But the third one is, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next.
I love that.
But that first one about surround yourself with people whose faces light up when they see you, I could not speak to how much that resonates with me now, because that is the type of people that I want to be around
Yes.
like when I go to work, and like I said, outside of work. So that was all so beautifully said. So I thank you for giving us your thoughts on that. And I love
you. I tend to ramble.
No. Please, that's what podcasts are for, is to ramble. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not watching the video of this, Lillian is wearing a very Rosie the Riveter inspired outfit today. And so I know that you also wanted to speak to women's stories in the theater. So tell us why you think that is also an important topic.
Oh gosh. Well,
How much time do we
how
have?
do we go into this without getting so horribly political? I feel that at this particular time in history, there's a lot of silencing and being attempted, a lot of efforts to rein back the voices of women, right? And I think that in the theater, in a lot of ways, this is not perfect, but in a lot of ways, I feel like women are rising in the theater as voices. I think it's still going much slower than I want it to go. But you know, I have a lot of girlfriends and acquaintances who are becoming artistic directors at theaters, and who are coming into their directing moments, who are becoming leaders in the community. You have a lot of you know, femme writers coming up that is so exciting. It's one of the reasons why I keep coming back to it, why I love In the Heights. In the Heights, yes, Usnavi is the storyteller, but it is a matriarchal story. You know, it is a story of an abuela who is the leader of the community. Okay. It is a story about Nina, who is a daughter of the community. It is a story about Vanessa, also a daughter of the community. It is a story about Daniela, which is the role that I've gotten to play multiple times, who is a business owner in the community and also one of the matriarchs. Nina's mom is a matriarch of the community. You know, she's like, I'm going to throw a party for your welcoming home, and everybody comes to that, you know. So it's very much a matriarchal story. And that was one of my big problems with the movie. I felt like they gutted the ladies in the movie, and I was so frustrated by that. But I am excited by all the work that's coming from women in theater right now, and that is you know, on all of the levels. I'm getting to direct for the first time this year.
That's my next transition. That's right. And we're going to talk about that. Tell us about this project you are directing. I'm so excited for you.
I am so happy to tell you. I've been telling friends.
But the audition notice is out there now, so we can talk about it.
Yes. Well, yeah. And I called and double checked because, you know, they hadn't put up any kind of social media announcement about it. So I was like, can I talk about this? I just need to know because I want to talk about it, and I've been talking about it in public or in private, and I'm about to talk about it in public. Can I? I get to direct Ride the Cyclone at Metropolis Performing Arts, and I am so excited I could die. This will be my professional directing debut. It is with a show that I love so much. I have been a part of the Ride the Cyclone family since 2013 when we started workshops of the show at Chicago Shakes. I mean, it had a life before I ever came on. It had a 9-year life before. Yeah, I know.
I had no idea about that.
Yes.
Wow.
So it had a life in Canada for 9 years before it ever came to the States. It was different. It didn't have the storyline. It was more just like here's a bunch of dead kids singing some songs. Really. And Kevin McCullum saw it at a theater festival up in Canada and was like, I think there's something here. I think that this could be turned into something. And he reached out to Rachel Rockwell, who was a director here in Chicago at the time. And he flew her up to see it because the two of them loved developing work together. And she was like, I think so too. And so they got a hold of the writers and they brought them down and they started developing the whole storyline of the competition of it and getting to come back to life. And I got to be a part of that. So from the moment that it became like a full-fledged storyline, I have been in all of those workshops.
Wow.
It's amazing. It really, talk about humbling, because you learn so much about what stays and what goes. Like,
right.
That chest is so deep of things that never made it into the show, you know, or things that we didn't even get to learn, or things that we learned and rehearsed and then still didn't make it into the show. There's a whole song that I still remember the choreography that never saw an audience.
Wow.
You know, and didn't even, because there's a couple of songs that didn't make it into the show that ended up making it into the album, the cast album that we recorded during the times of Covina. And they took a couple of songs that didn't make it into the show and put it at the very end.
Okay.
Our writer, the composer, sang them at the very end. It really, tells you, okay, don't get too attached. Don't, what is it? Don't get too attached to your babies. You're gonna have to let them go.
Yes, yes.
And there was a lot of that because we started in 2013. The last time that I did the show was 2019, 2018,
Okay.
2019. It was in Atlanta.
Okay.
I want to say early 2019, maybe.
Okay.
And then we did the recording, which was a labor of love in and of itself because we were all, sheltering in place. And so we were all recording the music from different places in Canada and the US. And then in the midst of all that, somebody found a recording of it online and it blew up. The kids were like theater kids were like, what is this show that we don't know anything about? And there's an album that just came out. They were so excited. They were ravenous about it. And I was thrilled because I had been ravenous about it, from the get, right?
Yeah.
And they have really brought it back to life on a whole nother level. So I'm excited to get to bring it to life here in Chicago for the first time since we did it at CST.
Amazing.
I just started receiving the audition tapes, the initial round of it, and started making notes. And it was thrilling to be like, look at them, they're so happy, they're so excited to do it. I am, and I have so many ideas, and I'm learning as I go because I haven't directed since my directing 1 and directing 2 classes in college. And so I'm learning a lot about the process as I go.
Oh my gosh.
And I was thinking maybe I'll video this. Maybe because I have a TikTok account and I am completely inactive in it. Because I made it and realized that I was addicted to it. And so I was like, I can't come on here ever again. And I was like, maybe I'll start taking videos of this process of like the day-to-day of what it is to be a new director, and learning how to do it as I go.
Yeah.
I haven't convinced myself that I'm going to do that yet, but
yeah,
I've seriously thought about it.
You should. It'd be a great learning experience for anybody out there who's an aspiring director. And I think, just like you think you're an okay singer, you've been in enough rooms, you've been around a lot of really talented directors that I think you're going to kill it. I think you have a lot more knowledge of how to direct people and how to lead a room and a production. And I am so excited to see it which we should say when it's going to be, where it's going to be, tickets, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. I took notes of this. It's at Metropolis in Arlington Heights.
Great.
Here in Illinois. I say that because there are amazing fans of Cyclone who travel from different states to come see me in shows. And so I just want to make sure that they know where it's happening if they really want to see it. It is opening in, oh gosh, I grabbed my phone. Oh no, I turned off my phone in order to not get interrupted. Give me 2 seconds. Because we start rehearsals in August. And I'm going to do this off the top of my head. We start rehearsals in August. We go into tech the first or second week of September. So I'm guessing we open a couple of weeks after that. That's not helpful.
That's great.
But if you go onto the Metropolis website, I'm sure there will be tickets available there. I don't know when, because they, like I said, technically have not socially announced the show, even though the audition is out. So I don't know that they're selling tickets for it yet.
Okay.
But keep an eye out, and I will post on my social media. I'm mostly active on Instagram, but I'm going to make an effort to be more active on TikTok.
Fantastic.
I will post on those, letting people know. It's Lillian Castillo Strong on both of them, I believe. Lillian Castillo Strong for sure on Instagram, and Lillian Castillo Strong. Strong is my married name. Yeah, so it's, oh man, I can't believe it's happening. I'm so excited I could die.
I know you've been talking about it for months and months and months, and your excitement is palpable. And I don't know the show at all. Like I texted you the other day, I randomly found the quote unquote pro shot of the New York production and was like going down that rabbit hole for 5 minutes, but I had so much other work to do. I was like, okay, I can't keep watching this as much as I want to. So now
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not even going to watch it because I want to see it for the first time when it comes to your production.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because I don't even want to listen to the score because like I like to be surprised by things. And like we all have those shows that we're like we become like, so familiar with it, we go see the show and then we're like, oh, that's not how I like it, or have expectations or preconceived notions of it. Like I don't want anything. I don't want to. I want to walk in blind.
Just in the first few auditions that I've received, it's been so interesting to see the people who have clearly watched the video a lot of times and see the people who are, okay, maybe they saw it, but they're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my version of this. And it's been very exciting to watch both, really, but to find especially the people that are just like, oh, I'm going to try it this way. Oh, amazing. Yes. Yeah. I lived.
It's interesting when you become a multi-hyphenate, which now you will be, when you're on the other side of the table and you watch people audition, you're like, it's a huge learning experience about how to audition, how not to audition, what to do, what not to do. It blew my mind the first time I had to sit behind a table. And I was like, wow, it's a big learning experience.
It is. And it's unbelievably exciting. And I'm not going to say that I'm like feeling so confident. I'm still extremely nervous. But that is becoming a smaller feeling. Great. And the excited feeling and especially once I started watching the video, I was like, oh no, I do know what I want. Great. Good. Oh, Lillian, you're going to do it.
Yeah. If I had to bet money, I would say every director, even the ones on Broadway, they all have a little bit of that. Like they're pretty confident in their ideas, but then they probably got a little bit of self-doubt of whether their concept's going to land, or they probably have 80% of the show fleshed out, and the rest of the 20% they're just going to fly by the seat of their pants and see how it lands. Yeah. So I think we're all in the same boat there. Any other projects you have coming up before you go into the directing job?
Yes, I do. I am about to do a reading. Urban Theater has a series called the Raw series. Oh, fun. They are doing 3 different play readings. I believe, actually, Claudia, who was in the show with us, is in rehearsals right now. Her reading is tomorrow. I'm going to go see it tomorrow night. Okay. I go into rehearsals Saturday, and my reading is the following Saturday, which is Saturday the 9th. Does she know numbers? Yes, she does. And I am doing a show called El Santo by Carla Estela Rivera. Okay. And I'm super excited. I love new works. Clearly, Ride the Cyclone was a new work, and it gave me a lifelong obsession with working on new shows. And I'm so excited to do it. It's, more Latina stories. I'm into that so hard.
I know.
So yeah, that's what's coming up next for me.
But listen, we're coming up on time. I know your son's going to be home from school soon, so I don't want as much as I could talk to you all day, as you know.
I know, and I'm such a rambler that I took up so much time.
No, this is what the podcast is for people for us to have a conversation, and I love it when people can expound more on things. It's easier to have more content than less. So I thank you for your time. But was there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
Oh my goodness. I guess first of all, Chicago theater rules.
Yes.
Chicago theater is the best. I'm extremely partial, but I don't think I'm wrong. I love this community. I love everything that this community has brought into my life. That's why I moved here, is because it took me all of 2 weeks to be like, oh, these are the kinds of people I want to be around. These are the kinds of people I want to create with. This is the place that I want to have a home and a family and put down roots and feel like I'm still fulfilling that need to create. So I just want to say, don't sleep on Chicago. We're amazing. I also, for anybody, especially young people who might be listening to this, remember that kindness will get you everywhere. Kindness is easy. It's free. And it means everything to the person that you're being kind to. I can't tell you how many times I've been hired for a job, not based off my talent, but based off the fact that I was a good person to have in the room because I was kind. So Yeah. I just want to say that.
Thank you, my friend. I'm so excited that I had you here on the podcast. I love you so much.
I love you so much.
And I'm so glad that we live 6 minutes away. We have to have coffee soon.
Yes, please. When you get back into town, let me know and we'll go get some coffee.
Fantastic. Cafecito.
Yes.
Although, is there any cafecito place near us at all?
Not near us. We're going to have to head south, but not too far south, so that's okay.
All right. We will do it.
Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, ChiTheaterMakersPodcast.com. That's ChiTheater, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.